All right, so in this video, we're going to go over just graphing basics. Make sure you pause the video if you need to copy down the notes. So there's some notes there. The four quadrants are formed by a horizontal axis and vertical axis, of course known as the X and Y axis. The quadrant numbers that are formed by these two axes are labeled counterclockwise rotation. So the first quadrant is the top right corner. In this quadrant, both the X coordinate and the Y coordinate are positive. And then we're going to go counterclockwise. So quadrant number 2 is in the top left corner. Here, X is negative and Y is positive. Bottom left is quadrant 3. Both variables X and Y are negative there. And quadrant 4 in the bottom right, X is positive while Y is negative. And then just some basics as far as graphing ordered pairs goes. So recall that the X coordinate increases as you move to the right. That means positive numbers. And the X coordinate decreases as you move to the left. That means negative values. Y coordinate increases as we move up, and the Y coordinate decreases as we move down. So the first one's done for us, but let's just talk about it real briefly, how they got that answer. So from the point 0, 0, which is the center of our graph, we went to the left 2. So again, moving left means our X coordinates are decreasing to negative numbers. So that's where the negative 2 came from down here. And then we went down 5 units. And again, when you go down, the Y coordinate decreases to negative values, and that's where we got negative 2, 5. And let's go ahead and also label the quadrant that point is in. It is in quadrant number 3, as we stated the quadrants in the earlier part of the notes. Pause the video. In about 5 seconds, I'm going to give you the rest of the answers. So here's what you should have gotten when you tried it on your own. Notice those last 2 points is actually in the next section. The point 0, 9 is not in a quadrant because it's right on the y-axis. So it is called the y-intercept. And the point negative 2, 0 is right on the x-axis. So it is called the x-intercept. Now this last one was pretty simple because we had small numbers and the scale on each axis was just 1 unit. So what happens when we have much larger numbers? So you can look at this example that we have. We're dealing with years that have 4 digits in them, and we're dealing with number of text messages that's measured in the billions, but we get up to 3-digit numbers. So those are a little bit trickier to graph. The steps for you to copy are right here. So we're going to go ahead and do step 1, and we're going to change the origin, which typically is 0, 0. We're going to change it to the smallest x value, comma, the smallest y value. Now, the first thing we really need to do to this problem is to figure out what is our x value and what is our y value. So our x value, which is also called our independent variable, is typically your time variable because time doesn't depend on anything. It just happens. However, the number of monthly text messages, that depends on the month that we're in. So it is the dependent variable, so it's the y value. So when we say we want to change the origin from 0, 0 to the smallest x value, find the smallest x value, which is pretty easy to find. It's 2005. And the smallest y value just happens to be part of that same ordered pair, is 7. So I'm going to draw a line to this point just to remind myself the origin is no longer 0, 0. It's 2005, comma 7. Step 2 is what are we going to count by? So read the step. It says we're going to subtract the smallest value from the largest value for each variable and then divide by the number of tick marks you have. So you need to first count your number of tick marks. I can do that pretty quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have 10 tick marks. on both axes. We're just looking in the first quadrant because all of these numbers we're graphing are positive numbers. So on the x-axis, we're going to take the largest number and subtract from it the smallest number. So that's 2010, subtract 2005, and we're going to divide that answer by 10 because there's 10 tick marks. So 5 divided by 10, I get 0.5. So that tells me we're counting by half years. So that means this first tick mark is 2005.5. But rather than cram every single number on there, I'm going to skip to the second tick mark and just write every other tick mark just to save some space. So we're counting by 0.5s, so that means we're counting by a whole for every 2 tick marks. So that first year after 2005 is 2006, and then every other tick mark we're going to increase by 1. And we end with 2010, which is our highest x value. And then do the same thing for the y value. Take your largest y value, which is 188, and subtract the smallest y value, which is 7. And we're going to divide by 10. We get 18.1. I'm going to round down to 18, so it's a little bit easier to count by. And again, this is just a recommendation of what to count by. There's more than one right answer, but this will fill the entire graph. So this means we're adding 18 every single time on the tick marks for the y value. Remembering that our first y value is no longer 0, it's 7. So if we add 18 to 7, this first tick mark becomes 25. And I'm going to do the same thing I did on the x-axis. I'm not going to put a number at every single tick mark. I'm going to skip. So that means 25 plus 18 is 43, but 43 plus 18 is 61. So I'm still counting by 18s, but I'm not going to write every number just to save some space. So there's my y-axis, and notice it goes off the graph just a little bit to get that last point. But now we're going to actually graph our ordered pairs. We've done the hard part, we've scaled it. So now we just need to graph each ordered pair. We've already graphed 2005-7 because that is our origin. I guess we haven't technically put a dot there, but there it is now. The next ordered pair is 2006 on the x and 8 on the y. So I'm going to go right to 2006, and I'm going to go up to 8. We just have to estimate. So 8 would just be barely above the x-axis. And then just continue and graph the rest of these. 2007-30, we're going to go right to 2007, and we're going to go up to 30, which I know is going to be somewhere just above the 25 marker on the y-axis. And then graph the rest of those points. 2008, 107. Again, this is just really our best estimate. 2009, 153. And 2010, 188. So this one's a little bit off the graph. And then we're going to connect the dots with a smooth curve. It may not be possible to draw a curve that hits every single point perfectly because it's just a scatter plot. But you can kind of connect the dots and see that's kind of an exponential function. Now I want you to pause the video and try the your turn by yourself. I'm going to reveal the answer here in just a few seconds. One thing I do want to point out, the origin here is 1990, 3943. So we're using the smallest x value, which is 1990, and we're using the smallest y value, which is 3943. So it doesn't come from the exact same ordered pair this time. Good.